Good morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of DSP architecture and algorithms. So, in previous sections, we discussed regarding few architectural features, then a few computational building blocks, in which we discussed about the multiplier and specifically the Braun multiplier. Then we came up with a few of the concepts which are related to building blocks, that is, how speed is necessary for DSP implementations, how we should take care of those things. Then what should be the bus widths available when you're implementing DSP computational aspects. What happens if bus width is larger? What happens if bus width is less? What happens if more number of bus widths are there? More buses are present. So those all things we had discussed in previous sessions. So in previous session, we discussed regarding the shifters. So in shifters, we had discussed why it becomes necessary in order to cater to the overflow and the underflow conditions. Now, when do you have a overflow and underflow conditions? It all depends on few of the elements which are present in the DSP building blocks. So if I just take examples, if I want to add n number of elements and each of n bits wide, then what happens is the overall sum can be log n bits wide. So suppose if you have a accumulator, if you have a accumulator and you are adding some 10 numbers along with that, so the sum can reach uh, more than 10 bits. Additional bits will be log 10 to the base 2, log 10 to the base 2. So here around 4 bits excess would be produced. So your accumulator should be such that it should be able to cater to those 4 bits, or in short, it is log n to the base 2. So these many extra bits should be there. Otherwise, what would happen is it might overflow. If you're adding positive numbers, it might overflow. If you're adding negative numbers, right, there might be a condition wherein you might reach a value which is very smaller than the least negative number. So even those possibilities are there. So we should take care of these things. So when we are adding the number, and now there are different possibilities. What you can do is you can discard the least significant bits and use only those n bits which are available, provided there is no loss of much of the accuracy. So the loss of accuracy is okay for you, then you can do that. But generally try to see that if possible, you can avoid it by scaling and shifting, then you can go ahead with these aspects. Then if I want to take product of two n bits, what happens is the product will be maximum 2n bits. And now if the accumulator is n bits, and if you're multiplying and storing the result in the accumulator, then what is happening is n bits are lost. So you should go for logical implementation. That is, you can either discard the least significant n bits, or you scale the numbers before you multiply and then go ahead with the rest. And once you get the result, you scale it back to the original information. Or else you have to take two different memory locations, store n bits in one location and store another n bits in the other location. So that is what you can do in these cases. Now, when we are going for floating point additions, right, as I specified, if I want to add two numbers, that is 0.1 into 10 raised to minus 1 and say 0.2 into 10 raised to minus 2. So if I have to add these two numbers, what happens is these two exponents have to be same, or else addition would become difficult when you're performing. Manually, it is you can perform it, but when you're giving it to the system, then it becomes difficult. So what you do is you either adjust 0.1 or you adjust this 0.2 value so that you have common exponents, and then you go ahead. So this is where shifters also can be utilized. That is, you shift these numbers and adjust the exponent. So if I shift one number outside, so it will be like 0.1 into 10 raised to minus 1. And if I'm shifting this number, so it is 2.0 into 10 raised to minus 1. Now I can add these two numbers. So it will be 2.1 into 10 raised to minus 1. So this is how you can go ahead when you're doing shifting operations. So now let us look at a few of the problems associated with this discussion, what we have done now. Now here we can see in example 2.4, what is specified is it is required to find the sum of 64 numbers. So here you can see that capital N is 64 and each is represented with 16 bits. So here lowercase n is 16 bits. So number of elements to be added is 64 and each number is represented with 16 bits. So you are doing addition. You are doing addition. How many bits should the accumulator have so that the sum can be computed without the occurrence of the overflow error or the loss of accuracy? So now if I assume that if I adding 16 bits, let us assume that accumulator is also 16 bits. Now, if I add these numbers, 64 numbers, which are 16 bits each, what would happen is it would generate a excess of how many? Log 64 to the base 2. That is log of capital N to the base 2. So these many extra bits can be produced. These many extra bits can be produced by the summation of all these 64 numbers who are 16 bits each. So how many excess bits are present in this case? If you just see, it will be log 2 raised to 6 to the base 2. So it is 6 into log 2 to the base 2, which is 6. So what happens is 6 bits are in excess. Suppose all the numbers are 1, 1, 1, 1. So when I add all these numbers, I can get 6 bits of excess. So in this case, these 16 bits along with these 6 bits have to be stored in order to avoid the overflow or the loss. You have to avoid the overflow or the loss. Therefore, the accumulator should be of how much? 16 plus 22. 16 plus 6. So which is 22 bits long. So this is the first case. That is when you add the numbers. Add the consecutive numbers, add the numbers which are 16 bits each. So the sum can grow in 6 bits excess. So to avoid this, 16 bits of the regular this thing and 6 bits in excess. So total 22 bits are required for the accumulator. So this will avoid the overflow error or the loss of accuracy. Now coming to the next one, that is sorry here in 4.3. If the problem in 4.2, it is decided to have an accumulator with 16 bits. It is intended that accumulator is 16 bits, but shift the numbers before addition to prevent overflow. So how many bit shifts should be present in the number? So here what we did, we saw that how many excess bits are required and got to know that 22 bits should be present for the accumulator. But now what is specifying, I have an accumulator which is 16 bits in length. So I cannot provide excess 6 bits. So what is the alternate in order to achieve the accuracy? That is, I don't want to introduce any loss or overflow. So for that purpose, what we should do is before shifting the, before adding the numbers, we should shift the numbers. By how much amount the numbers have to be shifted. So here we got to know that in this case, that is the sum will grow up to 6 bits in excess. So when they are added in their regular form without any shifting or anything. So here what this intends is, it implies that we should shift these 64 numbers, all the 64 numbers by 6 bits. We should shift it by 6 bits so that we can prevent the overflow. We have to shift it by 6 bits so that overflow can be prevented. Now here we are not specifying the loss, only overflow is specified. He is specifying how many bits. For example, if I have a number, right? If I have this number, if I cannot shift it in this direction. We have to check out which direction we'll be shifting it. So here, if I shift it by 1 bit towards left, and if I assume that I put 0 over here, so the number will be 0, 1, 1, 1. So now you can see that number is changed. What you're doing is you are discarding the least significant bit. You have to discard the least significant bit. Now, if you move it in this direction, it would be 1, 0, 0, 0. So what is happening is MS bit is getting lost over here. MS bit is getting lost over here. If the same thing had to be done for this number, if I shift it in this direction, what would be the number? 0, 0, 0, 1. And if I shift it in the other direction, it would be 0, 1, 0, 0. So what you're doing is you are just trying to avoid the overflow. You are trying to avoid the overflow. You are not trying to avoid the loss. Loss will be there. Your accuracy will be less even when you're shifting. Okay, but if you want to manage, then you go for some exponent, this thing, store that in the exponent value, and then again you can come back. So that is what you can do here. So here, just how many bits you have to shift in order to prevent the overflow. In order to prevent the overflow, we have to shift it by log n to the base number of bits. So here we have to shift the we have to shift all the numbers by 6 bits to prevent the overflow. Okay, before you can perform the addition. Now so here we did not specify anything else, but in example 4.4, if you just see, if all the numbers of this 4.3 example are fixed point integers, what is the actual sum of the numbers? So here we can just see that in the solution, since each number has been shifted, so that operation has been performed in this case. So that overflow can be avoided. It has been uh, shifted to right by 6 bits. So here it is shifted by right. For example, if the number is like this, you shift it towards the right. So it will be 0, 1, 1, 0. Why you're shifting towards right is it is okay to discard this least significant bit. So that is why he is performing it in that form. So what is the actual sum? So in order to sum it, so here we saw that 6 bits access are required. So before going into addition, what we did, we shifted each of the number by 6 bits and then we performed the addition. Now when we perform the addition, what happens is we'll be getting a shifted version of the result. For example, if I take 1100 and 1011. So these are the two numbers that have to be added. So before adding, I shift it. So based on log n, since two numbers are there, log 2 to the base 2, that is I have to shift it by 1 bit. So if I shift it by 1 bit, what happens is I'll be getting 0, 1, 1, 0, and here 0, 1, 0, 1. Now I add this number. So when I add it, I'll be getting 1, 1. So this is the overall number what I'll be getting. Now since I have shifted, so the result is also in shifted form. So in order to get back the original number, that is the actual sum, this is not the actual sum, this is the sum which has resulted from shifting of the numbers, shifting of these numbers. So therefore, in order to get back this result, what we do is we multiply it with 2 raised to 1 in our case. Because here it is like we have taken this number and we have multiplied it with 2 raised to minus 1. That is, we have shifted. Since it is binary, we have shifted it in this form. The base will be 2. So therefore, since we have shifted the number by 6 bits, here the actual sum, that is the content of the accumulator into 2 raised to 6 will give you the actual sum of the addition of these numbers. And it will be preventing the overflow. Now, what is the error in the computation of the problem? Now, as I mentioned that shifting here, we are trying to avoid the overflow and the loss. So in order to do that, accumulator size should be 22, but here he restricted it for 16 bits. So overflow can be avoided, but I cannot avoid the loss. So what I do is I shift the numbers by 6 bits each and then add it. So due to which I'll be getting some result, but I'll be incurring some loss in the computation. So what is that loss? That loss is since lower six significant bits have been lost in the process of the summation, the sum could be off as much as 2 raised to 6 minus 1. So in a previous case, it will be 2 raised to 1 minus 1. That is, it will be 1 bit loss will be there in the previous this thing what I discussed. So in this case, the loss will be around for 63. So it will be off by 63. So this loss is incurred, but overflow is avoided. Overflow is avoided. So next one, when we are discussing about the shifters, how the shift operation is actually performed in your regular processes, and what changes can be inculcated in order to improve the time required for shifting. So in a regular this thing, say in a microprocessor, you might have seen that you'll be having a set of numbers. You'll be having say the bit sequence. So some numbers will be present. So if you want to shift it by 3 bits, what you do is you shift it one by one. Suppose I'll be shifting it towards right and ms bit location I'll be storing. So first shift will result in 0, 1, 1, 0. That is, this is the first shift. Second shift will result in 0, 0, 1, 1, and third shift will result in 0, 0, 0, 1. So here what is happening is you are say for example you are taking 3 machine cycles in order to implement 3 bits of shift. Now imagine if say it is a 64-bit number and you have to shift by 32 bits. Then what happens is this is not visible in your DSP because it will be consuming more amount of time in just shifting those bits. Now how I can reduce that thing using the hardware implementation. How so that is the software aspect what we discussed. So how we can reduce it using some software aspect. So in order to do that, we have one example shown over here, that is implementation of 4-bit shift right. So it is for shift right barrel shifter. Now the same thing can be looked forward for shift left. So we'll be having that circuitry in that form. Now, so before coming to this, just we'll have a look at the shifter. So we'll be having a n bit input and the shifted output also will be of n bits in size. So for this purpose, we require 2 control inputs specifying how many bits you want to shift and whether you want to perform a left shift or a right shift. So these are the things what go into the shifter. So accordingly, the shift operation will be performed. So here we have one example of shift right barrel shifter. So what happens in this case? Now, what is the purpose of barrel shifter is, suppose if you want to shift say 32 bits, can I achieve the same result uh, in just say very less amount of time, say in one machine cycle if I have to specify. So previously 3-bit shift required 3 machine cycles, for example. Now, can I perform the same thing with the hardware help within just one cycle itself or in one operation itself? So we can perform it with the help of this logic what is represented over here. So in this case, what happens is now these are the input bits what he has specified and this is the shifted result. That is B is the shifted result. Now here we can see that A3, A2, A1, A0. So this input will be same for each of the case. Now suppose here you can see that we are having some switches which are present over here. So these switches will be operating based on how many bits of switches are required. So they will be operated based on the number of shifts required. Based on that, the switch can be on or off. So now let us see for the first case, that is no shift at all. So I don't want any shift. So in that case, S naught is activated. So if S naught is activated means if you just see the path, what happens is, and other switches are off. So A naught will follow what path? it will come to S0 since it is closed, that is, it is on. So A0 will be coming to B0. Then A1, if you just see, it will be coming through S0 to B1. This one is off. So similarly for the next S2 and S1 is off, but S1 is on. Therefore, A2 will be following this path and B2 will be available. And A3 is directly available in B3. So A3 bit will be available in B3, A2 in B2, A1 in B1, and A0 in B0. So that is what the output will be resulting. That is what is represented here. Now let us see if I want one bit shift. So in this one, what we do is we turn on switch S1. We turn on switch S1. So now what happens? So here we can see that A3 is A3, so there is no switch in this case. Now A2, here if I just see what we are having, S1 is on. So I'll be getting it over here, B1, then A1, you can see that S1 is on and I'll be getting at B0. So A1 is available at B0 and A2 is available at B1 and A3 is available at B3. Now here you can see another thing. So in this path, A3, if you just see, I have switch S1 present over here. So what happens is, it is this path gets established and A3 will be available here. So in this one, what they're doing is, if 1100 is the number, so whatever this bit is there, that will be retained and then it will be propagated. So if I want to shift this one, right? So here, this bit will be retained and it will be 1, 1 and 0. So this is how the shift operation is being performed by this shifter. Okay. So that is what they have represented, A3, A3, A2, A1. So let us check out for the last one. That is, I want three shifts together. So in order to operate three shifts together, I just operate switch S3. I just operate switch S3. So when I operate S3, if you just see, I don't have S3 here, S0 is off. Then this is also not present, this is off, this is off, this is off. So all these are off. The only switches which are active now is this part, S3. So what does this imply is, if S2 is on or S3 is on, then the switch gets closed and the path is established. Here, if any one of these switches are on, any one of these are say high, then this switch is established. Switch is connected. So here again S3 is present. So what happens is, A3 bit will be coming in B3, A3 bit, because there is a connection over here, it will be coming in B2. Because there is a connection over here, it will be coming in B2, B1, and lastly in B0. So it will be A3, 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 A3. So again, I just specify. So in your, if I want to shift this one by 3 bits, right? If I want to shift this one by 3 bits towards right, so I'll retain this bit, then I'll shift 0 and 0. So this is the first shift. Next one, I retain this, shift, shift, and this one. So this is the second one. So next one, third shift. So this I retain, then this one, then this one, and then this one. So it is what all A3s are present over here. So here I'm taking 3 cycles, but in one this thing itself, say in one machine cycle itself, I am able to get the shift of 3 positions. So this can also be extended for more number of bits. Say the input is 32 bit, then I can have the 32 bit shift or 31 bit shift in one go itself. So that is the advantage of barrel shifter. So these are all DSP blocks which are. Okay, let us look at an example now. So a barrel shifter is to be designed with 16 inputs from left shifts from 0 to 15 bits. How many control lines are required to implement the shifter? So this is your regular straightforward questions. So since you have say 16 inputs. You have 16 inputs, and how many control lines are required to implement the shifter? So therefore, the number of control lines required is 4 bits in length, because what is there? Each is of 15, so total 16 bits. So each input is of total 16 bits. If each input is of total 16 bits, then in order to shift those bits, I require 4 bits. That is 2 raised to 4. So 4 bits are required to implement the shift in the 0 to 15. So these many control lines are required in order to shift these 15 bits. So out of these 16 inputs which are present, each is of 15 bits. Each is 15 bits. So in order to shift this, I require around 4 bits of control lines. The number of control lines is, since 4 bits are needed to code any number between 0 to 15, the range over which the shift is required to be accomplished. So that is what they are specifying. So it is like you have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, and maximum of 1. So this specifies 0 shift, this specifies 1 shift, this specifies shift of 15 bits. This specifies shift of 15 bits. So these are the things which are present. So since there are 15 bits, I require 4 bits in the control lines to achieve the left shift what he has specified. Don't go with how many inputs he has given. He is just specifying that is designed for 16 inputs. Is designed for 16 inputs from left shifts from 0 to 15 this thing. So what does this imply? 16 inputs, you can read it in this form also, that is 1, 2, so on up to 16 this thing. So you can read it in that form also. Now if I change some parameters over here, then you should be able to you should be able to estimate what are the control lines and what will be the number of bits required to perform that shift. So next unit, next block which comes is multiply and accumulate. So in your microprocessor, you had seen that you had multiplier separately and adder separately. You had these two separately. Now, can I in your say DSP implementation, for example, if you just look at convolution, what you have x of n convolved with h of n minus m. So you have something of this form. So here you can see that what is happening is, so if I just have to replace this one, so it will be x of 0 into uh, h of n plus x of 1 into h of n minus 1, so on up to infinite values. So depending on how many coefficients are there or how many signal this thing are there, it goes on. So here you can see that you are multiplying various elements and you are adding each. So what is happening? You are multiplying, you are adding it to the next one. So here if I just come out from this one, so this value is multiplied and it is accumulated with the result of this one. So I should store this result. I should store this result. That is, I have to accumulate this result. And next one will be calculated and you will be able to obtain the other result. So here it is, if I have to write, I have x of 0 into h of n plus x of 1 into h of n minus 1 plus x of 2 into h of n minus 2, so on. Suppose I have obtained this result. Now next multiplier, what it will do, it will estimate this multiplication result and this it has to add to this accumulated value. So that is what is happening. So such kind of operations are present in your DSP. So in order to enhance the speed of this operation, what we do is we go ahead with a unit or a block called as multiply and accumulate unit, that is MAC unit. So here we can see that it consists of a multiplier, it consists of a adder or a subtractor. So these are the two things which a multiply and accumulate consists of. And apart from that, it consists of an accumulator which stores this overall result. Now, what happens in these cases? So here you'll be having two n-bit inputs. You'll be having two n-bit inputs, which is given to the multiplier. You'll be getting the product, which say it is stored in the product register. And as we had discussed, if I'm multiplying two n-bit values, the maximum size of the product can be 2n. Maximum size of the product can be 2n. So it is the example what we had discussed. That is x of 0 into h of n plus x of 1 into h of n minus 1 plus x of 2 into h of n minus 2 and so on. So for example, x of 0 is given to this one and h of n is given to this one. Say I am substituting n values also, then you can go ahead. So x of 0 is taken and h of n, this thing is provided. It will provide me the product of these two and 2n bits are available. Now I have to add it to the previous result. So before this one, there is nothing. So it will be 0. So in accumulator, what you do is before you start the operation, you clear this off and make the accumulator content 0. So here what is happening? You obtain the product of x naught and h of n and then you added it with the accumulator result. So initially it will be all zeros. So once you get this addition, once these two inputs are available, right, the adder or subtractor will be performing its operation and you will be getting 2n bits of result and it will be stored in this register. That is 0 plus x of 0 into h of n. So its value will be stored in the accumulator. So this is available now. This is available in the accumulator. Now, when this addition, when this adder is performing its operation, right? When the adder is performing its operation, the next data can be made available immediately. That is, next one is what? It is x of 1 and h of n minus 1. So these two can be made available directly. So by the time addition is over, you'll be having the result of the product of these two numbers. You'll be having the product of these two numbers. So adder finishes its result, it stores. So by that time, multiplier also finishes its result and it gives 2n bits to the adder. Now when 2n bits are, next 2n bits are available, that is this part is available, it has to add it to this accumulator result. So the result is already present in the accumulator. So it goes and gets added and next set is available. That is, I'll be estimating the sum of these two. So here you can see that it is like pipelined data which is available. Only one access information, only one time, only one first operation what you're performing, that time it will be 0, accumulator is 0. Once the result is made available, right, 0 plus these 2n bits of the first result, that result keeps on adding. So adder and multiplier will be performing their operation in sync. So once the results are available, accumulator keeps on storing the intermediate results. And once all the numbers are added, you'll be getting the final result in the accumulator. So here, based on this one, so here you can see that you are performing multiplication and addition in some pipelined fashion. So here, this definitely improves the operation of multiply and accumulate result. Now the example related to this one, here we can see that if a sum of 256 products is to be computed using pipelined MAC unit. So this is pipeline MAC unit because first result you have computed, you have got the result over here, it gets added with this result and it is present in the accumulator. By the time this adder finishes its operation, multiplier will take the next set of input and provide you the next result. So once adder has finished its operation and stored the data in the accumulator, multiplier will be present with its next data for its next operation. So here multiplier is also performing its operation and adder is performing its operation and all the data is in pipeline. So that is how we specify it as pipelined MAC unit. So we have to obtain a sum of 256 products, and it is computed using the pipelined MAC unit. And if the MAC execution time of the unit is 100 nanoseconds, so MAC takes around 100 nanoseconds, what will be the total time required to complete the operation? So what does 100 nanoseconds specify? MAC execution time. So here it is nothing but from multiplier till the accumulator, one operation takes around 100 nanoseconds. One operation takes around 100 nanoseconds. Now here we can see that uh, to carry out these 256 MAC operations, it requires 257 execution cycles. Why this one cycle is extra is you are adding 256 numbers. The first number what you are adding, the first pair of the number what you are adding. So at that moment, what happens is for that number to propagate and store, it will take 100 nanoseconds. So by this moment, next set of bits, next set of inputs will be available. So this one extra, because here what happens is I'll be having 0 initially. So it will take one extra cycle for it to execute, for it to execute. So and remaining what it will do is when the number is getting added over here, when the first number is getting added over here, next number comes in line and stays. So here what happens is total of 256 operations plus one operation which is performed in the initial stage. So therefore it will take 257 execution time. So this one will be executed 257 times. 257 times. So it is 257 into 100 nanoseconds. So it will be around 25.7 microseconds. So this is what will be happening in case of the Mac unit. And this is how the execution speed can be improved. So this is all for today. Let us meet in the next session.